So we're picking back up with Mothership. Yes, we did do that and the ranged. So we're picking up today with survival. Below are some of the most common afflictions characters may encounter while exploring space. 32.1 Atmospheres. Planets with toxic or corrosive atmospheres require special gear to explore, otherwise, there is the risk of harm or even death. Toxic atmosphere. The planet's atmosphere is not fit to breathe, but is otherwise safe. Rebreather or armor with its own oxygen supply is required. Without these, characters take 1d10 damage per round. Body save for half. Corrosive atmosphere. The planet's atmosphere is deadly and destructive. It deals damage every round while on it. This ranges from 1 damage to 10 damage. Anything higher is simply impossible to safely traverse without specialized equipment or armor. (32.2) Bleeding. Some weapons or wounds cause characters to bleed. This means they take 1 damage every round until the bleeding is stopped. This is cumulative. If a character is bleeding 1 damage per round and gains bleeding plus 1, they now have 2 damage per round. Bleeding damage ignores armor and damage reduction. 32.3 Cryosickness. To endure long space journeys or hyperspace jumps, crews use cryopods, which are coffin-like capsules that freeze them in a suspended animation. While in cryosleep, the vitals are preserved and aging slows down. However, upon awakening, you experience a hangover-like feeling, which causes sluggishness and slow reflexes. While cryosick, you suffer a disadvantage on all rolls for 1 week. Upgraded cryo chambers may help mitigate these effects, and the stim-pack can cure them instantly. 32.4 Exhaustion. Long grueling treks on undiscovered planets can easily grind you down. If it becomes relevant, track exhaustion by making a body save every hour after 12 hours of activity. On failure, gain 1 stress and take 1 damage. After 24 hours of exhaustion, roll at disadvantage on all rolls until the character can rest for 8 hours. Food and water. Humans can survive roughly 3 weeks without food. After 24 hours without food, roll at disadvantage to all rolls. Humans can for the bare minimum survival, you need 1 liter of water a day. However, at this level, any strenuous activity forces you to make a body save or pass out. When water is scarce and you're tracking it this closely, you're at disadvantage on all rolls. (33.1) Oxygen. In space, you can last 15 seconds without oxygen before falling unconscious. After passing out, you can survive for 1d5 minutes before dying. If all of a ship's life support system goes offline, roll 1d10 and multiply it by the maximum crew capacity. This is the remaining oxygen supply. Every 24 hours, subtract the total number of breathing crew members from the remaining oxygen supply. Any crew members engaging in strenuous activity further reduce the oxygen supply by 2 each. Whenever the oxygen supply is less than twice the amount of breathing passengers, all rolls are at disadvantage as this crew suffers headaches, fatigue, anxiety, and general clumsiness. Whenever the oxygen supply is less than the total of breathing passengers, every breathing passenger must make a body save or else make a death save, as they suffer panting, dizziness, severe headaches, impaired vision, and tinnitus. Once the oxygen supply runs out, you can survive for 15 seconds before you fall unconscious. After falling unconscious, you can survive for 1d5 minutes without oxygen before dying. Androids do not consume oxygen from the oxygen supply. Those in cryosleep do not reduce the oxygen supply. Radiation. Whether it's cosmic rays or an engine leak or some previously undiscovered asteroid ore, radiation can kill you if you're not careful. Level 1, trace. Possible long-term, but no immediate effects. Level 2, acute. Unshielded reactors, warp cores. Reduce all stats and saves by 1 every round. Level 3, lethal. Atomic weapons, direct handling of warp cores. Every round, body save or lethal dose. Death in 1d5 days. Armor with radiation shielding blocks all 3 levels of radiation. Stimpack overdose. Excessive use of Stimpaks and other dangerous drugs carries a risk of overdose. Whenever a character takes more than 1 Stimpak in a day, roll 1d10. If you roll under the amount of doses taken in the past 24 hours, make a death save. 33.4 temperature. In most cases, a hot or cold climate has no noticeable effects. However, in places with extreme cold or heat, you should make body saves every hour or succumb. Extreme cold. In sub-zero temperatures, hypothermia and frostbite can set in within 10 to 30 minutes for those not dressed appropriately. To survive, you must bring your body up to its normal temperature. Hypothermia can kill within 30 minutes to 6 hours. Extreme heat. Over 100 degrees can cause stroke and kill within hours. Victims must move to a cooler location immediately to get their temperature down. Medical care. No matter how careful you are, sooner or later you will get hurt. Minor injuries can usually be treated with a quick rest, but wounds and conditions require professional treatment. Short-term recovery. Once per day, whenever resting, a character's body attempts to heal itself naturally. After 6 hours of rest, make a body save. If successful, reset health to its maximum. Wounds, however, remain the same. Long-term recovery. Recovering wounds, conditions, or losses to stats and saves takes a longer time. See the medical expenses table for a non-comprehensive list of available treatments. Medical treatments. Artificial wellness counselor. 150 credits. 1 hour session max per week. Restores 1 sanity save. 1% chance to give you a random condition. Cognitive defragmentation. 100,000 credits? Yeah, 100,000 credits. 24-hour surgical treatment reduces 1 condition, 1% chance of total amnesia. Disadvantage on intellect checks, sanity saves, and fear saves for 4 weeks. Deep tissue nanogel massage, 24,000 credits. 1 hour session max per week. Reduces stress by 1. Disadvantage on all actions for 24 hours. Immersive slick skin therapy. 4-hour virtual treatment restores either 1d10 combat or 1d10 fear save. 1% chance the character is stuck in the immersion for 1d10 days and loses 1d5 sanity save. MedPod, 6,000 credits. Week-long treatment spent in pod restores 1 wound. Does not restore lost limbs or digits. Pseudo-flesh injection. 8-hour surgical treatment restores either 2d10 speed, 2d10 strength, 2d10 body save, or all wounds. At disadvantage on all rolls for 2 weeks, plus an additional 4 weeks of convalescent recovery required. Psychosurgery, 28,000 credits. 8-hour surgical treatment restores either intellect, sanity save, or fear save to their maximum, or reduces minimum stress to 2. At disadvantage on all rolls for 4 weeks. We'll go ahead and skip this example here. Ports. When characters are in need of a place to repair, refuel, and catch a little R&R, they need to dock at the nearest port. While in port, you can buy and sell equipment, look for work, buy a ticket, or charter a vehicle, or take much needed shore leave. There are 5 basic classes of port, based on their safety, importance, and affluence. X-class ports, notorious criminal settlements and pirate bases. These are beyond the reach of the company, making them much more free and much more dangerous. C. Runaway down out-of-the-way outposts, refueling stations, and forward military ports. You can find C-class ports in any frontier settlement or rim space backworld, minimally staffed and minimally supplied. B-class. Blue-collar industrial stations and large-scale military installations. B-class ports build ships, garrison troops, mine ore, and take care of all the heavy industry required to keep the galaxy spinning. A-class. Overpopulated metropolises, trading centers, and power brokers. A-class ports house millions and contain everything you'd expect to find in a planet-side city, and more, if you know where to look. S. Luxurious pleasure spas and restricted access estates of the uber-wealthy. S-class ports are the rare gems of the void, heavily guarded, invite only. While ports are generally locations capable of docking a ship, these classes can be used to designate planet-side cities or even districts for the purposes of shore leave. Surviving the rim is tough. Those who do come out even tougher. Between contracts, if they have some extra credits, characters can take shore leave and attempt to convert accumulated stress into improved saves. How do I take shore leave? Pay the shore leave costs. Every port charges a different amount of shore leave based on the different amenities it has to offer. So it looks like you roll for your days and then spend that many credits and reduce that number of stress. Make a sanity save. In order to process stress into something useful, make a sanity save. Success. Convert some stress into improved saves. Each port converts a different amount of stress as shown in the table. Whatever stress you don't convert is relieved, setting the character back to minimum stress. Critical success. Convert the maximum amount of stress allowed at that port into improved saves and relieve the remainder. Failure. Do not convert any stress, but relieve all stress, setting the character back to minimum stress. Then gain 1 stress for failing a sanity save. Critical failure. Do not convert or relieve any stress, make a panic check. 39.2. How long is shore leave? Characters need something between a long weekend and a 2-week vacation, roughly 2d10 days, to benefit from shore leave. Any less, and you will incur penalties at the warden's discretion. What happens on shore leave can be as detailed or as abstract as your group prefers. You might play the entire time with different activities, or you could just roll once and head out. Group that likes a little buffer between horrific adventures might appreciate the break with some slice of life sessions. Contractors. Almost all ports throughout the Rim, you can find broke and hungry freelancers, hitchhikers, pioneers, and mercenaries, all looking for a work or a ride to the next system. If you find your crew light and in need of extra hands to fulfill a mission or staff a ship, you may want to hire a contractor. Be careful though, since many contractors can be cutthroat and disloyal, leaving characters to die when you need them the most. Contractor stats. Contractors are much simpler characters than the ones you play and only have 4 stats. Combat, which works the same as combat for players. Instinct. This is a catch-all stat for fierce, sanity, body speed, intellect, and everything else. Max wounds. Contractors don't track their health per wound. Instead, any damage they take counts as a wound. If they take wounds equal to their maximum wounds, they die. Loyalty is a save and is rolled whenever the contractor needs to make a decision between what's best for them and what's best for you. On a success, they help you out, and on failure, they help themselves. Each contractor starts with a loyalty save of 2d10 plus 10, rolled after they are hired. Motivation. Contractors' motivation always supersedes any sense of loyalty to the crew they may have. You don't need to roll up the motivation for every contractor, just noticeable ones. These simplified stats make contractors easier to track. Contractors are generally weaker and don't last long, so be sure to protect them. Hiring contractors. Contractors are paid a monthly salary at the beginning of every month. Additionally, they usually demand hazard pay, 1d5 months of extra pay anytime they engage in any life-threatening danger as a result of the job. Non-payment or partial payment results in a loyalty save at disadvantage. Finally, contractors always indicate a beneficiary who seek any payments owed them in the event of their death. I did bring some today, which I sort of regret bringing these particular ones, but I ran out of time as I was leaving, and these were the only ones that were, so that is 42. So a doctor costs 8,000 credits a month, 15 combat, 25 instinct, and 1 max wound. Secretly a con artist with no other expertise. Well, I think, I'm not sure how I feel, well, no. And that would make sense with how little but see, yeah, that does seem cheap for a doctor. 64. A Marine Officer 3.5K, 3535, and 3 max wounds. He's undercover secret police investigating your crew. That was the same. Oh, so 007 is actually an asteroid miner. 2,000 credits a month, 2525, 2 max wounds, and they're sending money back home. 41.1, improving loyalty. Contractors who survive a job and are paid in full increase their loyalty by 1. Increases of 1d5 or 1d10 should be reserved for extreme circumstances like saving the contractor's life or splitting a large payday. Motivation. Not all contractors need a motivation, but those who do always fail loyalty saves when the two come in conflict. Equipping contractors. Contractors generally have the basic tools, weapons, and armor required to do their job. If necessary, you can roll a loadout for them to see what they have. Who controls the contractor? Contractors should generally be controlled by the player who hired them, or by any player who doesn't have a character present in the scene currently. This helps keep everyone engaged. Replacement characters. Contractors make great replacement characters if and when your character dies or becomes otherwise incapacitated or unusable. Simply roll up their stats as normal, dropping instinct, and re-roll in combat. They may have lower stats than the contractor originally had, but this is okay because they'll also have skills now to help make up the difference. Then we've already looked at the character sheet, so that ends the first book for Mothership, the Player Survival Guide. You have a fair bit of time left, so we will go ahead and dive into the second one, the Warden's Operation Manual. I think I'll skip going over because at least it turned out to be the case in the other book that all of that's actually covered more in depth later inside Mothership, Warden's Operation Manual. Mothership is a horror game for mature audiences. It contains violence, foul language, some sexual content, drug use, and depictions of mental illness, trauma, stress, and panic that may not be suitable for all audiences. Prepare your first session. Preparing to play a game of Mothership with your friends, family, or strangers at your local game store can feel like a daunting task. What do you need to prepare? How do you prepare? How do you know when you're finished? How can you guarantee that hard work pays off? The short answer to all of these questions is to remember that most likely you've been playing games of imagination and pretend since you were a child. You can do this. The long answer is that you learn more from playing than you do from prepping. So let's get to work. Step 1. Get organized. Grab a cheap notebook and a pen. On the cover in big block letters, write Mothership Campaign Notebook. Turn the first page and label it Index, then flip to the last page and label it Roster. Finally flip to the second page, write the page number in one corner and title it Session 1 Prep. 2. Invite your friends. Do this before you're ready. Get a hold of 3 to 4 friends and tell them you want to play a sci-fi horror role-playing game with them. Find a night where you can spend 3 to 4 hours playing in person or online. They don't need to know anything about the game. You'll teach them how to play and can make a character when you get together. Step 3. Read the rule book. Read the player's survival guide. If you're strapped for time, just skim the character sheet and the cheat sheet on the back of the book. The actual rules, as written, are easy to use and not the most important part of the game. They do, however, provide a solid skeleton for you to flesh out with your own tweaks and house rules. Step 4. Choose a starting scenario. For your first session, you should throw your players into a bad situation and then make it worse. Economic horror, poor working conditions, a standoff between powerful factions, all of these provide a tension that's ready to explode by the time you add the horror. Step 5. Add the horror. Start with something that makes your skin crawl and build from there. A good horror includes a transgression that awakens it, omens of its arrival, its appearance or manifestation, a way for the players to defeat the horror through some kind of banishment, and finally the effect the horror has as it slumbers awaiting its return. Step 6. Something to survive. Once you've found your horror, the next thing you need to do is create a dilemma or series of obstacles where your players must choose between surviving the nightmare, solving the mystery, or saving the day. It's easiest to start with survive, as it will be in the forefront of players' minds. Step 7. Something to solve. Once you have survived down, you need to come up with some puzzles or mysteries to test your players' wits. They can be as simple as a locked door or as challenging as a complex web of conspiracy. Step 8. Someone to save. Establish some compelling people for your players to talk to, help, or avoid. Oh, no. Yeah, I guess I should have stayed inside. I was thinking about it, but it just seemed nice temperature and was not nearly this windy earlier. Step 9, map it out. Once you have the oh no. Once you have all of the above, it's time to put each of these items down onto a map with shorthand notes to make running the game a breeze. Step 10, final details. Finally look through everything you've written to find hidden connections, discard weak ideas, and make sure each class has something interesting to do. Be careful not to over-prepare, because your players will have their own ideas and you need to leave room for them too. Prepare your first session. Preparing to play a game of Mothership with your friends, family, or strangers at your local game store. Oh wait, sorry, that's choose a starting scenario. If this is your player's first time playing Mothership, they'll want to sample the best the game has to offer. For your first scenario, you might want something that's quick, easy, and classic. Take a look at the scenarios below and pick one that sounds fun. No, well, I put my dice away because of the wind, so I guess we'll just pick a couple random ones. 5. Visit an off-world colony. The company hasn't heard from the miners on PK-294, and these shareholders are getting restless. Take the next jump liner out to the rim and get production back on track. Off-world colonies for many are new start, but for others a new end. 3. Salvage a derelict ship. Distress signals on repeat, scans show no signs of life, escape pods all ejected. Finding a derelict ship can be a chance to strike it rich off scrap and loot, but not every risk has a reward. Every abandoned ship is abandoned for a reason. 10. Make contact with the beyond. They found it at the edge of the system, on a frozen and forgotten mood, eons old, intricate stonework. When our probe arrived, it started humming a tune. Now they're looking for us for a long, long time. Now they found us. 6.1 setting. For your first game of Mothership, let's keep things simple. A nice 2 to 3 hour session that doesn't overstay its welcome and has your players coming back for more. All we need is one self-contained location with lots of potential for trouble, like the ones on the setting table here. Once you note that in your campaign notebook, you're ready for the most important ingredient, the horror. So various locations include space station, aboard your own ship, prison complex, religious compound, mining colony, underwater base, or mothership. Find the horror. Now that we have a basic scenario, we need to find the horror in it. To do this, we use a method called the tomb cycle, which stands for transgression, omens, manifestation, banishment, and slumber. It describes the cycle of horror from its origin all the way to how it is defeated and then returns in 5 acts. Prepping your horror. Write down the acts in your Session 1 prep page in your campaign notebook. Then use the guidelines to invent your horror. Use the horror's reminder, the table is only a starting point. You have to breathe life into the entries and interpret the results. Ignore entries you don't like and combine unrelated topics to create something new. Act 1, Transgression. Someone knowingly or unknowingly awakens the horror from its slumber. Horrors occur because at some point a line was crossed that wasn't meant to be crossed. The line may be an actual boundary, like stepping foot on an unknown planet or boarding a ship. It may be a moral boundary, like leaving a crew member behind or turning your back on an innocent suffering. Transgressions can be active, like deciphering the runes of an ancient relic, or passive, like docking at a backwater spaceport. Transgressions aren't just the actions your players take in the present. They can be something in the past that explains why the horror exists at all, or an action in the present that your players are trying to stop. Usually your players only realize that they have transgressed by the time it's too late, and they enter the next act, Omens. The horror heralds its arrival through signs and signals. Omens can take the form of nightmares and prophetic visions, a loose trail of victims, or rumors and whisperings among the colonists. Each serves as an early warning system that alerts the players that something is not right and gives them a chance to get ahead of the horror. Omens build tension. For long-term looming threats like an alien invasion, each might be a space months apart as scientists and astronomers start going insane or killing themselves. For more impending terror, the omen may simply be a corpse aboard the abandoned ship with its chest split open. Finally, omens act as clues for mysteries to be solved. What are they pointing to? What do they foretell? Once the omens have been solved, our time has run out, the horror appears, and the players enter the next act. Manifestation. The horror reveals its true form to the players. This is a big moment. For the first time, the players get a glimpse of the horror in all of its terrifying glory. The spirit appears, the serial killer attacks, the disease infects another crew member, a monster rampages through the lab, the manifestation makes it real and gives the players a form, body, or face to fight. Manifestation is often what people remember most, so think hard about your horror's appearance. Think about its smells and the sounds it makes when it's creeping on you. This is also the perfect time to start thinking about its tactics and how it acts. Remember, a manifestation is a symptom. Once manifested, the players are on the defense. They are being hunted, attempting to survive just long enough to make it to the next act, banishment. The players race against the clock to fight back and attempt to destroy the horror. Once manifested, things ramp up quickly. The horror is now a real problem that must be dealt with before all hell breaks loose. During this act, players either defeat or are defeated by the horror. Banishment can take many forms, the most common being that the players simply kill it. It's not always that simple though. The horror may need to be appeased or freed. This act is the perfect time to ramp things up and really make the horror the player's problem. Attacks increase, viruses spread, deaths multiply, all the while the players learn that the horror is at their doorstep and cannot be ignored. Whether the players banish the horror, run away, or die trying, the horror enters its final phase, slumber. The horror relents. For now. If the players are successful in banishing it, the horror goes dormant, waiting for the next transgression to set it off again. If they fail, the horror completes its plan and moves on to the next phase in its evolution. Slumber is an important part of the cycle because it shows the horror is rarely defeated permanently, just kept at bay for another day. It must always be resisted and defeated anew day after day, week after week. There's always work to do, the long-term echoes and consequences of the horror's existence leave scars for a long time to come. Maybe the beast was defeated, but Bite infected a member of the crew. Maybe the ancient evil was sealed away in a tomb, only awaiting for some other explorer to stumble into it in 100 years. Start the cycle all over again. A little bit early, but just because of the conditions, I'll go ahead and end it here. So we'll pick up next time with tips on surviving and some tactics you might use. Well, actually, not next time. Tomorrow we'll be back to Bosch and MetaZoo, and then we'll pick this back up on Saturday. I may try and stream some Kane tonight and maybe some other stuff. I really want to figure out why I'm having trouble with sound while I'm screen recording. But that'll be it for today. Be seeing you.